امروز اومدم شومی، یکی از واینریای معروفشونه و خیلی فضای باحالی دارن. میخوام بریم ببینیم که توش چه خبره. Hello. Omar Joba. Okay, are we gonna have a tour inside?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
This is our Shumi Winery. First thing on the left, you see the man with the writing. In Georgian, it says, hello, Omar Joba.
Omar Joba.
Yes. So this is our map and our winery. In the front, this vineyards is the one part. The second one is around the parking lot, as you can see, and then you get in the recreational zone with the restaurant, ethnographical pavilion, and different rooms for different things. So to start with the company itself, Shumi was founded in 1997. It's quite a young company, but with big goals. What I mean by that is that before the 19th century we had over 500 varieties in the country. But then started phylloxera outbreak in 19th century in Europe and here as well. And then our economy collapsed, especially toward the end of 20th century. So most of those varieties were scattered in the country. Some of those lost forever, some of those were in private vineyards or monastery vineyards. And we took the responsibility to collect and restore those indigenous Georgian varieties. That's why we have this collection of vineyard here. That's the purpose behind it. But beside the Georgian varieties, we have collected different foreign varieties from 47 countries. The total amount of varieties here exceeds 2,000. Therefore, this is the largest ampelographic collection of vineyard in the world. Around 500, a little bit more, a little bit less, are Georgian varieties. So we mostly have collected and restored those ones. And we are still in the process of identifying, as we are ampelographic establishments. And through these years we have also tried and made some experimental wines. One of those exclusives is called Lazare. Was produced in 2017, and this wine is a blend of 450 grape varieties altogether. Those are Georgian varieties that were restored and collected, and the name itself, Lazarus, is a mythological character. He was brought back to life, that's why we chose the name. It's red rye wine made with the Georgian traditional method and aged in oak barrels for 2 years. And shortly we will get to Zigu. We have also created desert wine called Zigu. In Georgian it means Zigu. Yes. In Georgian it means center of the sun or heart of the sun. It's a blend of 300 grape varieties, more than that, and through the process we add brandy and chacha to it.
Wow.
Yes, overall wine is quite sweet with its complex fruity aromas and reaches 19% of alcohol. And this wine is aged there in this hall for 2 years in French oak barrels, and those are the only barrels we use in front of France. So this is the hall there, and let me show it inside.
Yeah, let's see. I love the smell.
And here on the right you can see the sculpture of the tree. This is the oldest still living tree in the world, grape tree, that still is productive. It's more than 300 years old, and well, it does not produce grapes every year, but in 2016 we had enough grapes to produce wine from those. So we get 67 bottles of the wine. It's the most limited and expensive wine of ours. For the obvious reasons, it's called Genesis. It's red dry wine was more made with the Georgian traditional method and aged in French oak barrels for 2 years. And those oak barrels are made from 250 years old oak. Special barrels for special wine.
Wow.
Yes. So as it's quite old, we are afraid that if we move it here, it won't make it. Therefore, we made a sculpture or copy of it, and it's still living, and it's in a private yard here somewhere. And we have special tours to visit this tree itself. I will show you the badge itself with a photo of
Yep.
this tree.
Yeah, sure. That's so cute.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we are reaching our recreational zone. On the left, there is Ilerco, and on the left we have the sitting area with the heating. It's really chilling in the winter. And in summer we have tables outside in the greens. Yes, even in the vineyards. And as we are going to right, the first thing you are seeing
Is that your
at the
shop?
corner is a shop of ours. Later we can visit it. And next is our ethnographical pavilion. We call it ethnographical pavilion as we have here different master classes, starting with traditional harvesting to different dishes. And those represent our ethnicity. That's why we call it the name. So first thing here, this kind of boat shaped is for traditional harvests. It's called satznakheli. Made from linden tree, and as you can see, it's hollow inside. And as we pick the grapes, we put everything into it and we stamp on them. In the front, you can see there are clay pots, or in Georgian called quarries. So these two are aligned to each other. As we crush the grapes, everything is collected down there straight away. And there, in the corner, you'll see the distillation area. It's a traditional way of making chacha, Georgian vodka. It's made from crushed grapes, and we have to put those crushed grapes in the pots there, and we put fire underneath, so this mixture starts to boil, and alcohol evaporates. It travels through the pipes, through the barrel filled with water, and then it condensates.
I think it gets cold and then the water comes on, right? Here on the
Yes, in the barrel, this mixture of those gases cools and condensates into liquids, and that's chacha.
Perfect. I love it, baby.
Yes, over there we have tone, which is kind of Georgian oven. It's hollow inside, and we need to put fire into it. Inside part is made from the clay, so this part needs to be really hot, and then we stick those, and you get traditional Georgian shotis, long boat-shaped bread. So the visitors like you can participate into making those and get familiar with Georgian traditions. And then next we are heading to Griffin. Griffin is the symbol of the company. It's a combination of lion and eagle, and it's a mythological creature for us. According to legends, it stole grapes from gods and give it to mankind, and those were first ever grapes for us. Then we started to plant those, cultivate and harvest them for winemaking. And as we brought back to life and restored indigenous Georgian varieties, we linked the work of ours to this mythology, and that's how it became the symbol of the company. So you'll find this griffin everywhere, especially on our products, on the bottles, and it's quite prominent. And actually according to legends, this animal can make wishes come true. So you can climb up. Just you have to put one hand there on the paw, and you have to whisper your wish in the ear. Then you have to toss the coin down. Right now we are heading toward the museum, but before that, behind this recreational zone, you will see our main facility. Mainly on the right side are stainless steel tanks, and we use two technologies: classic European and the traditional Georgian one. These tanks are for classic European methods, and the main difference between those two is that juices are separated from the crushed grapes, and those juices are collected there in the stainless steel tanks. And we have to add some yeast to it for the fermentation. And overall, this method takes less time, less effort, and these tanks are way bigger than the clay pots. Therefore, a majority of the wines are classic European style made ones, and only minority are traditional Georgian made ones. And right now to the museum. This museum was opened in 2005, and this is the first ever wine museum in the country called Vazione. As you enter there, on the left you will see the map which shows how everything started, how the wild varieties spread in the country, and where the origin of the wine itself. There is a village called Shumi in the south part of the country, and there was archaeological research done, and was found some remnants of clay with grape seeds and wine nest into it. Those are the oldest samples in the world, to be exact 8,000 years old. And on the second map you see how those wines themselves spread in the world, and mainly to the European civilizations like Greece, Italy, and from there those just found their way in the world. Oldest item here presented is this particular item called Triatic clay pot. It's from Triatic kurgans itself, and it's 6,000 years old. Kurgans are the burial places of the royals. Most of those are collected in the Kakheti region, and this particular one has quite wide opening. Therefore, it was not used for the wines, most likely kitchen purposes, like water maybe. We need vessels with narrow neck and narrow opening to limit the contact of oxygen to the wine. So this particular one is the typical wine handling vessel. The smallest ones we are used for rituals or cosmetic purposes. The darkest variety in the country, called Saperawi, has so high amount of pigment in it that at some point it was used as a paint for the makeup, for the faces, or even for the walls.
We call it Saperawi.
Yes.
And also Saperawi is a way of making wine.
No.
Is it so? What is it?
Saperawi is the variety of the grapes, and sometimes the name of the wine itself. The names usually are like terroir names where the grapes are picked, or the name of the variety itself. That's what we use in Georgia. So on the right of my side here, you can see it's Ilerko. The vessels shaped like this, called piala, but those are commonly made from clays. This particular one is made from gold with silver coating. Therefore, it has a special name, which is Ilerko. And interestingly, even though it's not original was found in one of our vineyards. When we are preparing the soil, and then we donate it to others. So it travels in the country, and everyone has the ability to have a closer look. We named the vineyard itself and the wine produced from those grapes harvested there the same name as this particular item. So we have one of our exclusives called Ilerko. It's a Saperawi made one. It's bio-organic wine, and it's in top 10 best of the world wines. Actually, when it first appeared at London International Wine Competition, they did not even have the appropriate reward, so they invented one for it. So this wine has won 5 gold medals and 2 trophies in 1 year. Wow. This particular one item next in a row, is over 2,000 years old. And there you can see rings, and to be exact, those are silver rings on the branches. So usage and purpose behind those rings, all of those are linked to the beliefs of the ancient peoples. So one theory says that those are decorations to tribute gods or to honor them, as these items are from pagan era. And according to second theory, they work as the barrier between the vulnerable parts of the grapes and the diseases. As our ancestors had believed that as something shines under the sun, it might have something magical. So they thought that these silver rings can protect grapes from the diseases. So they put those rings where the most vulnerable parts were. Those prominations that you were seeing are cut off branches.
Cool.
And over here we have the most important item in the museum. This is 3,300 years old clay pot, found and restored by us as we hire the specialists. This particular one is quite small and has much round shapes compared to modern clay pots. And the reason behind it is that our restors, without the proper tools and chemicals, could not maintain the grape amount. If you have a look at the modern vineyards and older vineyards, like centuries ago, those are way different from each other. So they couldn't maintain the grape amount. They even did not need the bigger ones than this particular one. And also it's really hard to make those. You need special conditions for those. And this particular one, to be exact, is around 150 liters in capacity. And these ornaments you are seeing are the signature of the maker. And these rings, even though those are completely made from clay, has the same purpose as the metal rings around the oak barrels to strengthen the structure itself. And over time, over the centuries, as the technology got advanced, those got bigger and bigger, of course. And right now, commonly used ones are around 10 times bigger than this particular one is.
Oh, wow. With the same material?
Yes, we still use clay. And let me show those. So right now we are heading to our wine cellar, and the Georgian name for this place is Marani. And usually those Maranis or wine cellars are built underground. Underground, you have quite stable temperatures and great environment and conditions for winemaking and storaging. So clay pot does not give the flavors and colors to the wine. It just creates best ever possible conditions for the fermentation, for the maceration, and that's how it differs. So if you take two same grape variety, same grapes harvested in the same microzone, and use classic European method and traditional Georgian method, you get very different wines overall. So these are our 21 modern clay pots, and the biggest ones here are around 1.5 to 2 tons in capacity. And depth of each one varies accordingly the capacity, but it's around 2 meters. This particular one is almost empty. You can have a look. And one more thing, it's impossible to reach every spot of the clay pot. Therefore, someone has to climb down and clean it inside out. And this procedure must be done after every use and before every use if you want to make pure wine. Otherwise, clay pots will be contaminated. Over here is the Genesis barrel itself, where this wine was aged. And here, opposite place of the empty one, we have ice wine harvest. This ice wine is the traditional made wine, and this is the only one and the first one in the world made with the traditional Georgian method. It has a special name, ice wine. It means that we need grapes to be frozen. So we wait freezing temperatures, and such temperatures are typically in winter times, rather than September, which is typical harvesting period in Georgia. And for this harvest, we did it around 3 weeks ago when we had minus 8 degrees through the nights. This particular ice wine is blend of 102 grape varieties. Around 2/3 of those are red varieties and the rest are green varieties. So if you have a closer look there, you'll find some green and some red grapes. So everything here is collected together, and right now fermentation is already done, as fermentation itself takes around 2 or 3 weeks. If you came earlier here, you would see bubbles coming out, because during the fermentation.
Can you say this again, because it just turned in my face?
Say what?
Just after this.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
So as you can see, everything here is collected together, grapes and juices, and the fermentation starts on its own here and lasts around 2 or 3 weeks. So if you came earlier here, you would see bubbles, as during the fermentation you get from natural sugars, from fructose, ethanol and carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide just evaporates. So as the fermentation is going on, we have to stir the mixture to fermentize it thoroughly. We have like long sticks that we use. So then, as the fermentation is already done, we seal everything, and everything, the juices and the grapes are left down there. And for the maceration process, we keep everything this way for several months. So in Georgia, we have such folk saying, when you first see the thunders in the spring, that's when you have to open the clay pots or quarries. So typically duration is around 6 months for the white wines. For the red ones, a little bit shorter, like January or February.
Okay.
And then we open those quarries and we take out the wines and we put them into oak barrels over there. Those are French oak barrels, and later I'll show you them closely. And their aging procedure lasts around 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So totally it takes around 1 year to make Georgian traditional methods. Yes, and the durations themselves are changeable accordingly to the grape variety, wine type, and who is the maker. Mm-hmm. So they will change anyways. Yeah. So, but these are the traditional and typical durations, what I'm saying. To get back to the ice wine, overall, as we have green and red varieties, wine itself gets salmonish color, beautiful salmonish color, because either it's amber, either it's red.
I was always had the question how you make this amber color wine.
Yes, this particular one is the only quarry wine that is sweet wine. Rest quarry wines are dry ones. As the fermentation starts there, it has to go all the way through. We can stop it.
Yep.
The reason why this particular one is sweet is that when we harvest the grapes in winter, we get small amount of juice, but concentrated juice with high amount of fructose, sugars. Okay. Mostly water is already evaporated from the grapes. That's the reason why it's still sweet, even though fermentation goes all the way through. Okay. All right. So the name for this wine is Barbale. Barbale is the name of the goddess of ours, and the rituals in ancient times were held in winter times when the grapes are themselves picked, even these days. Let's get to the oak barrels. So I have mentioned that we only use French oak barrels, as those are some of the best ones. We import them, even though we used to make our own oak barrels, not like the company itself, but in ancient times, centuries ago, as we have oak barrels, and then we had free will as well. Right now, those oak trees are under governmental protection, as those are near extinct, so we can cut them down, and only way to get these oak barrels is to import them. Mm-hmm. So we use mostly oak barrels produced in French. And every wine and every bottle has their place. What I mean is that each bottle is used for only one type of wine. Even if it's emptied, we don't put there any other type of wine. And usage of each bottle is around 3-4 times. Then we use them for the brandies, but not the wines. Oh. Yes, and we have brandies as well. And brandies are distilled wines. We have brandies like aged for 5 years, 7, 9, 20, and 50. Okay. So those used ones are great ones for those brandies. And this giant barrel, it's also oak-made one, but custom-made barrel is for biodynamic wine. Our biodynamic wine is called Salome, made from Saperawi grapes. And for the biodynamic and bioorganic wine, we have separate vineyards. Those are smaller vineyards than normal wine, normal vineyards. And in the vineyards, we don't use anything. Started with chemicals and ended with technology. Nothing at all. The harvest is done accordingly to the moon phases, and grapes are picked by hand, then crushed by hand, and those have contact to only organic material like oak there. So everything comes here for the fermentation, and then wine is aged in again oak barrels for at least 1 year, and then goes into bottles, and we keep the bottles additional 1 year, and then goes for the sale. So through this process, and the thing that there are no chemicals at all in the wine, this wine reaches quite complex and rich, but at the same time balanced and smooth flavors and aromas. So this wine became the best one in the country and one of the best in the world. It has more than 50 gold medals on its count, and it's in elite restaurants like Michelin star restaurants. Every year there is gathering of the world's 50 best restaurant sommeliers, and this wine became their choice. That's why it's present in the elite restaurants. Yes, and this biodynamic also affects the expiration dates of the wine itself. It can be stored more than 25 years, and still it will be much better than today it is. At the moment, we have only 5 harvests for this wine, as it's impossible to prevent diseases from spreading and do anything about the weather conditions without the proper tools and the chemicals. And yes, but our first ever bio harvest was done in 2005. And we were the first ones in the country who made that. And through these years, we got German certification, as if you want to make biodynamic wine, you have to be certified. And it took us 7 years to get this certification, yes. And over there, as we are moving towards, is our Renoteca. It's a wine archive of ours and our history, as oldest bottles presented here from our first ever harvest, held in 2001. So it took us 4 years to make wines, and the first bottles are in this collection. This particular shelf is the oldest one, and it goes all around till 2015 there. And right now what you are saying, well, and we are also feeling, is the best conditions for the storage. So we don't have strong lights, as we are underground. There is no sunlight at all. Temperatures are stable, again because of we are underground, and we control the moisture, as we have opened up sewages, air pumps, and we control it. These are the best storage conditions, and the bottles are stored horizontally. Well, most of those. Some of those are standing because of the presentation purposes, but after some time, cork might dry out, so it will sneak in air, and the bottle will spoil. That's why I keep them horizontal to make and maintain this cork moisture. And these are our sparkly wines, stored upside down. Sorry, and we call them shobili. In Georgia, we have folk saying as follows: wines are born in quarries, and shobili in Georgian means newborn. These are the only sparkly wines made in clay pots. So process itself is a combination of our 8,000 years old winemaking technology with champagne making technology, dated around 400 years. So wine goes through to fermentation process, one in clay pots and some maceration as well, around 4 months. Then we put wines here in the bottles, and we add tirage liqueur to it. Tirage liqueur is a mixture of yeast and sugars for the second time fermentation. So in the clay pots we have crushed grapes and quite matured forms, shapes. Those are much oval and longer rather than round. So during the fermentation you get sediments, and these crushed grapes works as a natural filter for those sediments, and these shapes help them to sink gradually down toward the bottom. So later you are done with around 3/4 of pure wine. But in the bottles we have neither shapes and neither crushed grapes. That's why we keep them upside down, and that's why the separation process of sediments and the wines takes way too long time. To be exact, 22 months. So we keep bottles here like this for 22 months, and then we do the gorgeage process. 22 months in bottles, and then we do the gorgeage process. And here you can see there is the marking because we rotate the bottles time to time. There are much prominent markings, yes. And these are temporary caps, what you are seeing right now there. They have to come off. That's what the gorgeage means. They come off with the sediments there. And then we put Portuguese premium cork inside, and that's it. So totally takes us around 26 months, more than 2 years to make this bottle. And that's it. Tour is ended. I hope you have enjoyed. And if you have any questions, I might answer or not. All right. As you don't have any more questions, I have more hints. More hints. Here you can see around mostly our full assortment. Beside the exclusives, we have 2 lines. One is the lowest line of ours called Shumi line. Those are the bottles from this line. And then comes our Iberiuli line there. This is our premium line. It goes to 32 countries. And on the label, the first thing you are seeing is Griffin. So I always say that look for the Griffin if you want some of the best ones in the world. As we exported those wines abroad, we have also presented those to international wine competitions. And those wines have won more than 650 awards. And we were named as the best producer of Georgia for several times. And then you are seeing our exclusives, Ilerco and the Salome. And my favorites, Year of the Harvest for Salome, 2013. And our down there are Zigo, our desert wines, some brandies and chachas. And the Shumi name of the company itself means something in Georgian. So I have mentioned that our esters could not produce more wines. Therefore, when they wanted more, they diluted the wines with the water. It was quite common practice back then. Even these days, in some countries, it's still common. So royals were the only ones who could afford pure wine. And in the historian sources, there is sentence as follows: royals drink Shumi. And guess, Shumi means the pure or undiluted wine, the best one possible. So as the symbol of the company, Griffin name itself, Shumi can represent our aim and goals. That's why we chose it.
That's perfect. Thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed.
I enjoyed it a lot. Perfect.
Çok güzel.